It's been about a month since ISOM launched the Rippaverse, rippaverse.com, Eric July's runaway freight train of a book here, a campaign. And in that time, I think there's been one piece of journalism on it, a hit piece. I shouldn't say journalism, a hit piece on it by Rich Johnson over on Bleeding Cool. But other than that, crickets, tumbleweeds. All we've seen is these people on Twitter belittling Eric, trying to dismiss the success that this campaign is. They've tried everything. They've thrown everything that they've had at him. First, hilariously, they tried to come out and call him an Uncle Tom, and worse, much, much worse, I should say. That didn't go well with them. Then they tried to say he's faking it. Some of them still are trying to say that, but that's sort of gone away now. People, I mean, the receipts are there, and now they've moved on. Goalposts have moved, and the tactic du jour is it's overpriced. It's overpriced, and the only reason anyone is buying this is because they're all in a right-wing cult. Eric has hypnotized them, and they are just throwing away obscene amounts of money for that reason and that reason only. It all started here. This is Eric July saying, so this is why CBR has avoided coverage of the Rippaverse. And if we click through on that link, it takes you to this guy here, David Harth. David Harth, if I hover on him here, I write about comics at cbr.com. And you don't read comics. Oh my God, the sanctimony. We'll get into this. Here's a he, him. Thanks for letting us know, David. I already guessed that, but he's a BLM ally and all-round SJW. Well, there you go, everyone. What does David have to say? He says, so is this the first comic you've ever read? I've been reading comics for over 30 years, and I know who I never heard of. And you know who I never heard of until a bunch of right-wingers threw money at him? Eric July. What work has he done that makes you think this is worth the obscene amounts of money you've spent? Counting other people's money in public, not a great look. Just going to start it there. Check out the sanctimonious club sort of like comic books is an in-group club and you're not in it. Is this the first comic you've ever read? This guy looks down on you if you're new to comics. If Eric July, if the ISOM is the first comic you've ever bought, this guy's looking down on you because he's been reading comics for over 30 years. Guys, this is a big part of why it's not easy anymore to get into this hobby. This attitude that's out there. Eric July has done what the mainstream has not been able to do for decades now, which is get large amounts of new people into reading comic books. The movies couldn't do it. Billions of people saw the movies. How many of them went to go pick up the comic books? Well, the fact is that they're bleeding readers. They may say, oh, we're making more money than ever. Yeah, in profit, you're charging more, but the amount of readers, the amount of books you're actually selling is going down. It's in the superhero market. Manga's going great. French comics are going great. All that stuff is going incredibly well. Crowdfunding is growing by leaps and bounds, but the kind of comics that these guys advocate for, bleeding. And anyway, look at this. Until a bunch of right-wingers threw money at him. First of all, Eric July is libertarian. And I admit it's time to go to school here. Libertarian is neither left nor right. It relates to the up and down. Liberty versus authority. And if we're going to go here, what's the implication you're saying here? That comics are left-wing? That's who they're aimed at. If you look at the demographics, this is pretty much across the world, across the board. You have about 40% who are on the left, 40% who are on the right, and 20% other. That could be independents, moderates, whatever, centrists. Last time I checked these days, it's sadly, about 8% sort of far left wokies. Now, the mainstream has been trying to go after this woke crowd, this 8%, for the last 10 or so years, and maybe a bit longer. How's it going out for them? How's it going? How's it working for them? You know, the non-woke comics trying to appeal to everyone, even the woke. Like, they're not going to read it. We know that. They're gonna be like, they're gonna act like this. But let's at least go for that 92%. What would you rather go for? Try and get 92% of people or 8%? I know where I would be focusing my efforts on. And so what, you haven't heard of him? Like, what? I don't know what point you're trying. Who are you? Who are you, David Hearth, with 218 followers on Twitter? Who cares whether or not you've heard of him? He is right now the biggest news in comic books right now. Show me someone who's doing something that's bigger in August 2022. And look, if I click on this is CBR's website here, right here, comics, first link, comics news. It's in the word, David. New. Eric July is new to comic books. He's not new to comics. He's new as a creator, as a publisher of comics. So yeah, that makes him news. Not only that, he's the biggest news. And what work has he done? Well, he spent 15 years building his audience on YouTube so that he can convert tens of thousands of non-comic book reading people into comic book readers. Sounds to me like it's time to pop out the champagne. Can we have more Eric Julys out there, please? This is just silliness. This is silliness. This guy had a good take on it. I like this one from Ron Good. Good Ron. So this is the first album you've ever bought? I've been listening to music for 30 years. And you know who I never heard of before a bunch of teenagers threw money at them? The Beatles. What work have they done that makes them think they're worth the obscene amount of money everyone's spending on them? I like that tweet. When I first saw it, I was thinking, like, imagine you're a crime journalist and there's this new serial killer terrorizing the country, and you're like, I've been covering serial killers for 30 years. I've never heard of this new guy. Why would I write a story about him? And this is the tweet I put out was $35 plus shipping is an obscene amount of money to this guy. No wonder they think the way they think. Yeah, that's the obscene amount of money. I know it seems obscene when you count up. I mean, that's how maths works. You get over 40,000 people spending a relatively small amount between, I don't know, 35 to a couple of $100 on a thing. Yeah, it adds up. It adds all the way up to close to 3.5 million, believe it or not. But there's not someone who's put in millions of dollars. It's lots and lots, and it means I can't believe we're having to explain this. $35 plus shipping for a $90 graphic novel of high quality is not, I repeat, not an obscene amount of money. These people are broke. You've been reading comics. Yeah, you've been reading them for 30 years. You've probably been getting them for free as an access as a journalist because you can't afford to pay for them. What do they want? They want lower prices. They want monthly books. Why do you want lower prices? So that you can get kids to read them? That ship sailed 30 years ago because the mainstream decided, no, we're going to chase the direct market and speculation. Now, fast forward to 2022, you can either have cheap comics selling in the millions. That's what manga's doing. They sell ungodly numbers of comics of their manga, and they're able to sell them at a cheap price point because they're selling so many. Or you can sell thousands. I don't know. It depends. Might be selling hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, whatever it is. It has to be more expensive. You can't do both. You can try to do really cheap comics that are selling in their thousands, and let's just see how that works out for you. That's why if you go onto Norman Comic Book Twitter, everyone's complaining how they don't make any money in comics. That's the situation we're in, and then they'll turn around and say, this model that Eric and Comicsgate are doing, that's unsustainable. No, that's projection. Your model is unsustainable. You cannot continue to sell comic books that cost a lot of money to produce and take a long time to produce and sell them for pennies out there when you're only selling a few thousand. Okay, we're trying to build an audience from scratch on our own through YouTube. It's not millions yet, but there's thousands. So we have to charge a little bit more. And luckily, thankfully, blessedly, our audience are willing to pay if they believe that we are putting in the work and making a quality product. But yeah, if you want artists unable to afford to live, stick with your model. And that's, I mean, look, hey, that's what you want. Who am I to criticize? Our model means that creators can actually make a living, potentially, hopefully, if they put in the work and they get the audience. And we do that by selling direct to customers, cutting out middlemen, cutting out money being siphoned off here and there by other people who have no input in the creation of these works. And look, at the end, if what you've created, you're a creator, you own your thing, your creator-owned comic. If that becomes a hit, then you have a legacy to pass on to your family. What do you have if you stick with the old way of doing it? That's you know, everyone's broke while they're making the comics, and then at the end you get fired for a you know, exchange for a rainbow-haired lesbian who complained about you on Twitter. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. Look, products are worth what people are willing to pay for them. That's it. It's not, that's the market decides. Yeah, the free market. It's not decided by broke Twitter socialists or friggin' bread tubers. Eric July wisely, very well points out here, hey, look, Marvel and Image have variants going for over $40. Keanu had it too. The closest book doesn't even have half the page count, right? So why are you going after Eric for this? We know why. Because you're disingenuous, because you don't believe what you're saying. You're just looking for a chink in the armor. You're like zombies surrounding a building, and you're trying to find a window in. You don't actually believe what you're saying here. Here's Ethan. So Zombie Moses said, this is such a disingenuous argument. These books by the grifter Eric are not being sold to retailers. He's selling directly to his cult. As if that's an insult. Ethan says you're afraid of his success. Why? DC and Marvel pre-sell large amounts of comics to retailers for money 3 months in advance of receiving the books. Those retailers then try to sell them to you poorly. We've seen the stacks, the thick stacks. Eric is selling books straight to customers who want them. It's a square deal. Here's this guy, Dr. Acula, going on about mines, a mining business. I don't really know. Anyway, as for RIPPAVERSE, RIPPAVERSE, he doesn't have anything established since there's none in comic shops, no online retailers selling the comic for distribution outside his website. Again, and here's Eric, Clown World. He's not going through the proper channels. Yeah, that's why you are all mad. He's circumvented you. He doesn't need you. He says it right here. Right here. We do not answer to your channels or establish funnels. We're not asking for permission. We're just getting started. Hashtag we will win. Guys, do make sure you have backed ISOM. I think there's only one cover left on it. This, as I said at the start, this is a freight train of a campaign here. It's the unstoppable force meeting the weak and withered mainstream comic book industry. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Also, if I can ask you to get the bell on, I've been getting comments from people saying that they're no longer receiving notifications ever since I started doing these regular short vids, that they're no longer getting notifications for my live stream. So please do get that bell on and consider signing up to Painted Death. Oh, and also becoming a member. All right, guys, that's it from me. I will see you later. Bye.